Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to good cop gets bad cop fired and arrested. And I mean, I was just on my personal YouTube earlier today, and I saw this pop up, and I just instantly knew I'd want to react to it. And I mean, we're here with it now. I don't really know much about the channel, much about what this video is going to show, other than the title. And I mean, it just seems quite interesting. I don't know if it's like a controversial one. I look at the like to dislike ratio, and it seems like it's went down well, so I'm just going to hope it's not one of those videos that people hate me reacting to, because I know some things people aren't a fan of me reacting to, but at the end of the day, that's just part of the channel. I react to what I sort of find interesting, plus what other people want me to see. But yeah, we're going to just jump into this. Maybe this will be a new sort of thing that I get into, because I mean, I feel like from the title, this is going to be a very satisfying thing to see, because like, obviously cops do what they have to do and their jobs are very hard, but when there's like a bad cop who's going out of his way to make people's lives worse, or just give people a hard time for no real reason, and they get caught and arrested. I mean, I don't know what he's done to get arrested, but it's obviously quite bad. But I just know it's going to be a satisfying one to see. But yeah, we're going to jump into this. Shout out to my Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description if you guys want to see or find that. Follow me on there. Halloween was fun yesterday. I got dressed up. If you want to see what I wore, links are in the description to my Instagram. I posted a picture. And yeah, links to my Patreon as well. A lot of Patreon exclusive videos, early posts, etc. Just things like that if you want to see. Links in the description to that. And I mean, let's just jump into this. Didn't say anything there. Let's just jump into this. Bro, talking's hard, man. Talking's hard. I talk too quick, bro. I do. Hopefully this doesn't get blocked.
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers use of force, officer obstruction, and official misconduct, and is brought to us by Cameras Everywhere's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On July 26, 2021, Officer David Lance Dukes of the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety responded to a call regarding a man banging on a townhouse door, allegedly with a gun in his waistband. When he arrived on the scene, Officer Dukes immediately drew his gun and ordered 58-year-old disabled man Clarence Gaillard and his cousin Mario Julian, who were standing in the parking lot outside the townhouse, to the ground.
Hey, let me see your hands.
Fucking hell. Oh my days, that was loud. Wait, is it loud?
Bert, get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
Wait.
Hey,
Instant.
let me see your hands. Bert, get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground right here! Get on the ground! You! Bert, you sharp! Get on the ground! Over here! On the ground! On the ground! Get on the ground! Do you not listen? Get on the ground!
Mr. Gaillard attempts to comply with Officer Dukes' orders by getting onto his hands and knees, but Officer Dukes forcefully uses his foot to
Oh
attempt...
my god, man. Oh, I'm already getting pissed off. And is this the guy he said was disabled as well? Oh, this poor man. Poor fucking
to
guy.
force Mr. Gaillard all the way to the ground, causing his head to violently hit the pavement.
What the fuck? Oh, that is fucked, man. Are you serious?
In the 1989 case of Graham versus Connor, the Supreme Court explained that the Fourth Amendment requires a police officer's use of force to be quote-unquote reasonable under the circumstances, and identified three factors that courts should consider when determining whether an instance of force was reasonable. These factors include, quote, the severity of the crime at issue, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat to the safety of the officers or others, and whether he is actively resisting arrest or attempting to evade arrest by flight. More recently, in the 2016 case of Armstrong versus Village of Pinehurst, the Fourth Circuit, which includes South Carolina, held that, quote, non-compliance with lawful orders justifies some use of force, but the level of justified force varies based on the...
I'm not fucking kicking someone's back to the floor and making them crack their skull on the pavement. He probably didn't want that to happen, but still, I mean, if you're like that, you've got to expect some sort of some bad things to happen. Like, I don't know, it's probably like a cop trying to use his power to just, I don't know, man. I'm gonna see more, to be honest, so I can judge what to say then.
risks posed by the
I hope the guy was
resistance.
alright,
Even
though.
purely passive resistance can support the use of some force, but the level of force an individual's resistance will support is dependent on the factual circumstances underlying that resistance. In this situation, the severity of the crime at issue was limited at best, although Officer Dukes claimed to believe that Mr. Gaillard had a gun at the beginning of the interaction. However, at the time Officer Dukes used force against Mr. Gaillard, it was clear that he did not pose an immediate threat, as he had raised both of his empty hands above his head before getting on his hands and knees. Finally, Mr. Gaillard was not resisting arrest in any way. In fact, he was attempting to comply with Officer Dukes' commands when the force was employed. Under these circumstances, it is highly likely that a court would conclude that Officer Dukes' use of force against Mr. Gaillard was neither justified nor reasonable.
Is there a gun back there?
Ain't no gun.
By that truck.
Ain't no gun.
You're not listening, dude. Bro, you got a gun on you, man?
No, I ain't got no gun. I
I'm
don't
just
want no gun. I don't
Turn
want
back over. Paul, do you watch him say? He had something.
I ain't want no gun.
The door's unlocked in the car, so
No, he was right here. Watch him. Go watch him. There it is.
I don't want no gun.
All right, that's what he had.
What the hell is that? Is that not a damn gun?
All right, who's the complainant? All right, get him up.
put your leg up.
25 cents, got one tank.
Alright, put your leg that way so you
I'm
can stand
just
up.
All right, listen, I'm about to help you. Hold on. Hold on. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
Yep.
Listen.
Yep, they slammed my head
Listen.
down on the cement. Yep.
Go back inside. Go back in the house. Go back in the house. Ain't nobody talking to you.
I got head trauma.
Go back in the house.
Yep. Y'all bust my head down. Yeah, I've been in an accident. Yep. Y'all bust my head down. You throw me down.
I sure did. You
And,
wasn't listening.
yep. No, it ain't. You ain't to throw me down like that. I'm disability.
Okay.
I got head problem. Yup. You throw me down. Yup. You throw me down. You throw me down. Yup. You bust my head down on the cement. Yup. You bust my head.
All right, let me tell you what.
His forehead.
You bust my head down.
So I'm guessing there is actual footage of it, his head hitting the ground. I guess it just didn't show up because on the YouTube video it would probably get demonetized or something, or it just isn't allowed to be posted, which is fair enough. But I'm assuming it was all caught on the camera because he had the picture before he gets he hits the ground.
On the cement.
He was
Still
he was in front of the car when I came up, and he was walking like this. And I thought it was a gun at first. I said, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. Had him at gunpoint. And he's over here doing something like this.
You slam my head. You slam my
What
head
he was doing
down
is
on
putting
the
this up behind the
cement.
tire. So he comes over right here. He got his hands in his pockets. I'm telling him, let me see your hands, let me see your hands, let me see your
Why you
hands.
bust my head then?
He wasn't listening.
No, it ain't.
He got the, like this right here.
Completely different, man.
We went onto the
And
ground.
you bust my head.
Officer Dukes claims that when Mr. Gaillard was walking from behind the white vehicle, he believed that he had a gun and repeatedly told him to drop it. Officer Dukes also alleges that once Mr. Gaillard stepped in front of the vehicle, he had his hands in his pockets and repeatedly ignored requests to show his hands. However, the body cam footage shows that Mr. Gaillard actually had his hands above his head, and that while Officer Dukes repeatedly screamed
I mean, I could literally remember that he had his hands up pretty much the whole time from when he started saying it. Just thinking in my head. So the fact that he said that is trying to get out of the situation already, man. I mean, I didn't know it was already going to turn. The events were going to turn this quickly. Now the cops are now sort of questioning him, etc.
Mr. Gaillard to get on the ground, he never
quick turn
asked
of
him to
events.
drop a gun or show his hands, likely because Mr. Gaillard's hands were visible throughout the encounter. An incident report filed by Corporal Brandy Smith, who was also on the scene, states that while Mr. Gaillard was walking from the passenger side of the vehicle, he appeared to have his hands in his pockets, but that once he reached the front of the vehicle, he took his hands out of his pockets. Corporal Smith's report also states that Officer Dukes was giving loud verbal commands for Mr. Gaillard to get on the ground, but makes no mention of a gun or any commands to to drop a gun or show his hands. It's also important to note that when Officer Dukes was reporting what happened, he did not explain the method he used to take Mr. Gaillard down. Corporal Smith's report claimed that when Mr. Gaillard did not get completely on the ground, Officer Dukes pushed him to the ground by placing his right foot on the middle of Mr. Gaillard's back. However, the incident report filed by Sergeant Aquel Polador states that Officer Dukes, quote, jumped up and stomped Mr. Gaillard on the back of his neck with his foot. Although it is unclear from the body camera footage whether Officer Dukes' foot landed on Mr. Gaillard's neck or upper back, it is certain that the version of events Officer Dukes explained to his commanding officer did not align with the body camera footage or the reports filed.
Surprised there's not any blood. From how I'm hearing is he stomped on his head or stomped on his back and his head smashes the ground. Oh my days, imagine that sort of feeling, the sound
by
and
his
all that.
colleagues.
Oh.
That's what.
On the cement. You bust my forehead.
Yeah, your head did hit the cement.
Right, cause you bust me down on the cement.
Where's the complainant?
You bust my head down on the cement.
Right here?
You bust my head. You bust my head.
Where's the complainant?
You bust my head down.
We're trying to get the name of the complainant.
You
So
bust my head.
What are we doing? I guess Sam was going to check him out.
There ain't nothing about here on the press charges on.
Who called?
I'm not sure.
Take him out of cuffs right now. I mean, because that's what we
You
got.
have to use it for us.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Slam my head down.
Dude, I didn't know what his
You
intention
use
was.
it for us. You need to have a look at the camera.
Alright.
The officer there.
What do you say about his camera?
You need to have a look at the camera.
You need to have a look at your camera.
Alright.
The officer there wrong. Slam my head down. Bust my forehead. Damn right. You gonna pay me for that shit.
Mayor, I'm going to take that into evidence of what he had.
What?
Well, I mean, you know, that's the reasons I did what I did. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm coming from.
No gun or nothing.
Because when he was behind the truck, I couldn't see what he was doing. And I didn't know where
There ain't nothing there.
that went. If it was still in his pockets when he come around that car with his hands in his pockets.
What is that?
Dogs officer.
Got it
No.
on camera.
Yeah, a dog
Alright, that's
stick.
fine.
A dog stick.
So he can come out of cuffs?
Yeah. Take him out of hand.
Yeah, he can come out.
Oh, Lord.
They're not going to get him checked or something. What are they taking pictures for?
good. How are you? What's going on?
Officer slammed my forehead down in the cement.
Okay.
In the wrong for that.
Use consciousness.
Yeah. Listen.
Can I get a card from you?
I don't have one there. We
Okay,
don't have
what's your
they
badge
don't
number?
give us cards.
Okay, what's your badge number?
1059.
Let me see if I can get my phone. Hold on.
Hold on, we have cards. Okay.
Wait, he just lied. Did he just lie about not having cards?
Okay, what's your
They
badge
don't
number?
give us cards.
Okay, what's your badge number?
1059.
Let me see if I can get my phone. Hold on.
Wait, are they different from different, like, I don't know, different stations or something? Why is he saying that?
Hold on,
Or different levels? Maybe he's not. Is he just lying, blatantly lying? Because the way she says that and she looks at him like, this motherfucker's lying.
we
Man.
have cards.
Alright,
Okay.
from a blood test. Okay.
Thank
Like
you.
go to hospital?
When Mr. Julian
Look how she's looking at him, man. She knows he's guilty.
and asks Officer Dukes for a business card, Officer Dukes claims they are not issued cards by their department. However, Sergeant Polidor immediately corrects Officer Dukes, states that they do have cards,
good
and
officer.
provides Mr. Julian with the information he requested. If it was concluded that Officer Dukes intentionally lied to Mr. Julian in an attempt to avoid accountability for his actions, it is possible that he could be convicted of 2 common law crimes under South Carolina law: obstruction of justice and official misconduct. In the 1997 case of State versus Lyles Gray, a court of appeals in South Carolina upheld convictions for both of these offenses against an officer in the Camden Police Department for her conduct during a criminal investigation. The court explained that, quote, under common law obstruction of justice, it is an offense to do any act which prevents, obstructs, impedes, or hinders the administration of justice, and that, quote, misconduct in office occurs when persons in public office fail to properly and faithfully discharge a duty imposed by law. In this situation, the court concluded that the officer obstructed justice and committed misconduct in office by failing to interview witnesses after her daughter was identified as a suspect, obtaining a false arrest warrant for another suspect, and withholding evidence. While Officer Dukes' lie about whether the department issues identification cards did not rise to the same level of misconduct, given the broad definition of both of these offenses, it is still possible that he could be convicted if charged. However, it is important to note that while some states legally require officers to provide ID to citizens upon request, South Carolina law does not place this obligation on officers. Additionally, many police departments have policies requiring that officers identify themselves, but the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety's policy is not publicly available, and it is unclear whether their policy adheres to any form of officer identification guidelines.
But the look she's given him.
Yeah.
Brandon, he can get this stuff off the car.
She's giving him the evils, man.
Dukes, will you say badge number?
1059.
After Mr. Gaillard was treated by EMS, he and Mr. Julian were allowed to leave. 2 days after the incident, Officer Dukes was fired from the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety for violating the department's use of force policies, which, as stated before, are not publicly available. On August 25th, 2021, former officer...
I bet there are people that were defending this as well. I mean, there's no real defending, man. If he knew he wasn't guilty, why wouldn't he have just given his details without, like, or like given the card or whatever? Again, maybe he didn't. He actually didn't have it, but I'm sort of got the feeling that she said that they do. So I think my man's just sort of trying to save himself at that point.
Officer Dukes was charged with first-degree assault and battery, which could carry a sentence of up to 10 years in prison.
Flipping
As of the date
hell.
of this episode, Mr. Gaillard is represented by an attorney, but he has not yet taken any legal action against Officer Dukes or the department. Overall, former Orangeburg Officer Dukes gets an F for physically assaulting Mr. Gaillard for no apparent reason, blatantly lying about the nature of the interaction in his police report, and for making a concerted effort to avoid being held accountable for his ridiculous antics. At no point during this encounter was Mr. Dukes in any danger, and it is clear that his violent actions were motivated by his ego, not officer or civilian.
I was thinking, did I say ego earlier? I sort of felt like it was. Did I mention ego? That was the word I was wanting to say. I don't know if I said it, but that was literally the word I was trying to say.
Civilian safety. There was absolutely no legitimate excuse for shoving Mr. Gaillard's
I think I said to show his power.
face into the pavement when it was plainly obvious that he was attempting to surrender. And this is exactly the type of conduct that has sparked nationwide unrest regarding members of law enforcement. Mr. Dukes' feeble attempts to explain his actions and manipulate the facts of the encounter only add to his incredulous and insidious behavior, and his conduct was nothing short of unacceptable. I commend the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety for immediately firing
Yeah, it's
Mr.
good,
Dukes
2
and
days
pursuing
now.
criminal charges
That is
against
good to
him.
see.
And if there were a lower grade than an F, he certainly deserves that. Sergeant Polidor gets an A+ for remaining truthful and objective throughout the encounter, ensuring that Mr. Julian was
Bro, she's looking at him like, this motherfucker, but he's like, yo, you're getting fucked, man. You're about to ruin your whole damn career.
given the necessary information to follow up on the incident, and for maintaining a calm, collected, and professional attitude throughout the interaction. Although it cannot be proven with any degree of certainty, I suspect that Sergeant Polidor was highly involved in the Orangeburg Department's decision to fire and charge Mr. Dukes, and the testimony that she offered in her incident report likely played a vital role in making certain that he was held accountable for his actions. Officers who witness acts of misconduct are often placed in a position where they must consider whether reporting that misconduct is worth the potential damage to their career that could arise from pursuing accountability for the actions of their colleagues. And it is all too common to see members of law enforcement justify the actions of their peers in any way they can to avoid facing the repercussions of speaking out against them. This notion was on full display in this very interaction when Sergeant Meyer fist-bumped Mr. Dukes for an appropriate use of force without knowing any of the details beyond what Mr. Dukes had told him. I commend Sergeant Polidor for having the courage and conviction to hold Mr. Dukes accountable for his actions, and I sincerely hope that her actions inspire other officers who witness misconduct to come forward and do the same within their departments. As for Mr. Gaillard and Mr. Julian, I cannot rightfully issue a grade to individuals whose actions were purely dictated by the conduct of the officers on the scene. Nothing the pair did was uncivil, and the two obeyed all the commands of the officers to the best of their ability without knowing the context of the encounter. It could certainly be argued that both Mr. Gaillard and Mr. Julian were both victims of police misconduct, one by way of physical violence and the other by an attempt to avoid accountability. It should be noted that Mr. Julian made a legitimate effort to gather then Officer Dukes' personnel information, presumably in an effort to file a complaint against him, and I commend him for sensing that Mr. Dukes' actions were unlawful and doing what he could to hold him accountable. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below.
That female cop was a badass, man.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget,
This channel, man, I mean, I've not seen it before, but I'm not gonna lie, it's interesting. It is interesting. From what I've seen so far, I feel like this could be a channel that maybe I'll check out in future. It sort of reminds me of JCS, but not the same sort of videos, because obviously he's like sort of reviewing how murderers are, like, when they're getting interviewed by the police or interrogators and stuff. But this is similar, man. I feel like this is a channel that I could watch in my own time just to sort of learn and see different situations of when cops do things well. I guess he shows that stuff, or just when cops do things that really should not be happening. But let's just see some of the comments. We just witnessed cops holding cops accountable in real time. I honestly think this is all it takes to stop police brutality. The disappointment of our own peers goes a long way. But I noticed from here, when I sort of said he's getting questioned already, I was kind of like, whoa, this is early. But when he's like she's here, she's already like sort of...
I thought it was a gun at first.
You can already tell she's not 100% with what he's saying. She doesn't believe what he's saying. So I do rate that she done what she done. Wow, so glad body cameras are law now in many places. I mean, yeah, because back in the day, I can't even imagine how many officers got away with different things because there was no footage caught of whatever was possibly happening. The police that maintain their integrity and hold their colleagues accountable are true heroes to me. After threatening everyone's life and smashing an elder's head, panting, alright, who's the complaint? Yeah, he's just trying to change the conversation as soon as he can. I thought I was the only one who noticed him faking being out of breath long. He must have thought he was in his own sci-fi movie. I am the main character. I'm so proud of that woman. She's all our mother. Honest, caring, noble black woman. Yeah, I do rate it, man. Hopefully she got like a raise or something, because she done real good here, man. And I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know if many people even watch this. I don't know how many people know this channel, but if you haven't found it before, or if you didn't know about it before, links will be in the description to this video. From there you can find the channel. But yeah, hopefully you went on to enjoy. Until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.